Hello everyone, my name is Yuliia and you are watching Multicultural's Community Hour. In this segment, we are talking about civic issues in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I would like to introduce our guest Daniel Hidalgo. He is a founder and director of the CommUNITY204, which focus on delivering support to all marginalized and homeless communities by providing basic human needs and support. Hello Daniel, thanks for being here with us today.
Hi, happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And today we are talking about programs and services provided by CommUNITY204 and the positive impact they have on our city. To begin, we need to let our audience know who you are. So, Daniel, can you please tell us about yourself and the CommUNITY204?
Absolutely. So I had the pleasure of founding CommUNITY204. I myself grew up in the city of Winnipeg, Manitoba for the majority of my life. And during that time, I was what's known as a permanent ward of the Child and Family Services system. So that means I didn't really have the structure. I didn't have a healthy mom or a healthy dad. So oftentimes I was placed in foster care or group homes. And eventually I was placed on what's called independent living. So at the age of 15, I was on my own. And I've been on my own since. And I think that when you grow up that way, you long for purpose and you long for identity. And so that means, who am I and why am I here? What do I have to contribute to life? And when you have those two things, you also experience a desire for belonging. You want to belong to something. You don't have the family, you don't have the safety and the structure of a home setting, and you really want to just belong. Typically, unfortunately, when kids and youth find themselves in that position, they end up being susceptible to negative influences because they just want any kind of structure or any type of belonging, any type of family dynamic. And so they end up in gangs and they end up in violence and they end up kind of committing crimes and stuff and negative experiences. So I stayed away from that stuff. I got myself involved in sports, and I found that I was always getting employed in the human and social services field, whether that was a youth care worker or a volunteer for the community. I always wanted to give back as a way to validate myself, but also to belong to something, but to help those who are in similar circumstances to me. So I started volunteering with a group called Mama Bear Clan, and I was putting myself out there. I tried to be a firefighter, paramedic, which I was for a short time. I just wanted to help people. And I think the reason that I wanted to do that was because it made me feel better about myself. It made me feel like I was worth something and that I had something to offer, and I wasn't going to be a negative stereotype. So we were doing this great work and we were helping out, and then, one day we were peacekeeping at an event, and peacekeeping means you're kind of like a security oversight. You're just being present and making sure everybody's safe and that you're supportive. And the group that we were helping was for Black Lives Matter, and they couldn't identify us. They didn't know, they knew we were there, but they didn't know how to find us. And so that's when the light bulb in my head went off, and I was like, we need an identity. We need a visual belonging to something. We need a name. We need a group. We need a way for people to find us. And how do we do that? So I was working with Indigenous kids in care, and I looked around the circle of us, and some of us were tall, and some of us were small. Some of us were brown, some of us were white. Some of us were men, and some of us were women. Some of us identified differently. But the bigger picture was, we are what makes Winnipeg. We are a community. We look different, we are different, but we have the same goal. And then I thought to myself, well, who do we want to help? Well, it's the same people. We want to help the community.
Yeah.
And then, so that became the name, and then the unity word is in the name. And so that played along well. And, I threw in the 204 because that's our area code. That's our city that we wanted to help. So it was very much organic, but it really started from there. And that was the birth of CommUNITY204.
Cool. When the idea first came to you, did you expect that so many people will join you and you'll gather so many people around your community?
I didn't think it would get as big as it's gotten. I did understand that there was a gap. There was a gap in services and supports for people because the pandemic was just starting, so a lot of people had to close their doors, and I understood that there was a desire to help. And it was in all of these youth that we worked with. So we didn't do it with the intention on growing big. We kind of just did it because it was the right thing to do, and it gave us all a sense of self-satisfaction, and it gave us a sense of fulfillment. We have a saying called helping is healing, helping is medicine. And what that means is that when you give back to others without the expectation of anything in return, you actually do get something in return, and it's that feeling of just doing the right thing. And so that's what kind of fueled it, and everything's been very organic. So the response from the people and other organizations and businesses and other supports has been so warm and welcoming, but it's not something we expected, but we're so grateful for it.
Cool. What are you doing to attract more people and more attention to your organization?
In the beginning, we just, once we created a logo, like we have a logo, and it encompasses a lot of indigenous concepts because we are on Treaty 1 territory. The demographic that is part of our volunteer team is indigenous, but we also serve the indigenous population that's marginalized as well amongst everybody. And so people were really drawn to the logo, and they wanted me to create merchandise. Like they wanted shirts, they wanted to buy, they wanted hats, they wanted to, I'm wearing one right now. And so that was really good. And I didn't know how to make a website or anything like that, but I did take advantage of social media. And the social media concept wasn't to glamorize what we were doing, but simply to spread awareness on the need. And it was also a platform for people to get involved, because a lot of the people in Winnipeg, Manitoba, they want to help, but they don't always know how. And so when we created that platform and that outlet and that connection, then they found a way to get involved. So everything just happened exactly, I think, the way it was meant to. And I think that's the beauty behind it. But yeah, it's grown tremendously, and I couldn't be more grateful.
So what is your main focus, and what help do you provide to people in need?
So our main focus is just being at as many events as possible and finding as many ways to help as possible, but also collaborating with as many other entities as possible. We have another mantra called Lateral Love. So that means spreading love and kindness to those around you. We have one called Lateral Empathy. That means having compassion and taking into consideration the perspectives and experiences of other people. And then we have the final one, which is Lateral Unity. And what that means is there's no ego in anything we do. We don't say we help better or more than anybody, but what we do think is we help in this way, you help in that way. Let's bring it together and help as best as we can.
Yeah.
And so I think that is our belief system, and where we're kind of focused on going. And for as far as programming goes, we have the most consistent program we have is called Soup for the Soul Sunday.
So you celebrated.
Yes, our 2-year anniversary. So that was really exciting. We work out of the Thunderbird House now on Main Street there, which is a pinnacle of Indigenous culture. That building is a very sacred building. And we just try to find ways to give basic needs to the people. And we feed up to 300 to 400 every single Sunday. And we provide them with basic needs. So food, clothing, hygiene products, beverage, conversation, interaction, healthy and safe interaction. Those are all things that the average person gets every day but takes for granted. And so these folks really appreciate that. And I think after our first year, we managed to help just over 13,000 people. And after our second year, we provided about 17,000 portions of food to the folks in need, completely out of our pocket. Like, we have no funding or anything. So that's just one of many things. We also have, we started a GoFundMe for a trailer last year, and we were successful in our goal. So we have a big enclosed trailer, and we have a team, we call ourselves the Mindful Movers. So we'll help people who face barriers such as physical limitations or age or financial limitations, who can't afford to move. We will get together and we will move your furniture from one location to another for you at little to no cost, essentially no cost, but donations are always welcome. And then we also pick up furniture donations and provisions, and we drop them off to people who have nothing. So you could be a family that's like maybe a refugee family that just got here and has absolutely no furniture. As long as we have in storage the things you need, we will give it to you for free. We will just give it to you because you need it and we have it. And I think that's, Winnipeg needs to focus on that kind of stuff, because the pandemic split us apart, and let's come back together.
Yeah, I also noted that you have teaching program. Yes. So what sparked the bright idea to help people not only with basic stuff, but also to give them opportunity to develop yourself, to learn?
Yeah, well, it's important that we create a foundation for youth and for folks that are struggling or want to do better to do so. And you can't do that without, various programming or teaching opportunities or even a space to just come together and get those things done. So we've been lucky enough to secure 2 buildings, and at one of them, we allow the youth to come and they can participate in sharing circles, healing groups, grief counseling, but they can also utilize the equipment there to build resumes, develop cooking skills, budgeting, understanding how to live realistically, because I think a lot of young folks want to live beyond their means, and so we really try to set those folks up for success. And then the other building is right in the heart of downtown on Main Street there, where we really work at the front line with the marginalized folks and give them opportunities to get involved too. So.
Cool. And what knowledge can be gained through your learning platform?
Just regards to our learning platform, you can learn to understand the effects of colonization and oppression. A lot of times people see the marginalized demographic and don't understand how those folks found themselves in those situations. And it's my understanding and my belief that nobody wakes up and says, I want to be marginalized today. There's always root causes for that. So they're able to identify some of those things too. And then we also help with just basic training programs that help people gain meaningful employment. So we have opportunities for first aid. We have opportunities for nonviolence crisis intervention. We have the applied suicide intervention program called Assist. We also started another entity called Sabe Peace Walkers, where we provide provincial security guard licensing and stuff, and as well as traditional teachings. A lot of the folks in our city have had their culture removed from them because of the residential schools and colonization. And so we really want to implement the cultural component back into everything that we do, because the intentions behind those teachings and that cultural component is to live what's called a good life. Yeah. And I think everybody just wants to do that, right? And that's how it was back then, and we're trying to bring that back now. I myself am BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, person of color, and I actually sought out what's called the Red Road, and that's basically the cultural and spiritual teachings of the Indigenous people here, whether it's various ceremonies. And so when you're seeking out those things for yourself, you end up forming organic relationships with other people that are also involved in that field. My children are Indigenous, and I want them to understand who they are too. So, I've been able to reach out to other organizations and knowledge keepers and elders through that outlet. And it's a very small, close-knit community. Like, everyone kind of is 3 degrees from the next person. So once you meet one individual, you'll go to ceremony, you'll start meeting other people, you build familiar faces and familiar relationships. And then, you find out about other organizations. And then you also keep an eye out for like the public callings. Like, sometimes you'll see, if you're a student at the U of M, there's often postings for, sweat lodge ceremonies that you can get involved in. And you just get involved with the groups. Like, a lot of this kind of just happened by participating in volunteerism, like joining Mama Bear Clan at first and forming those connections, and then forming my own. And then, people get excited because there's an abundance of people that want to help. So they all just kind of come together organically. And I think that's the beauty behind it, because anything that happens organically, in my opinion, is meant to be, because you didn't put any effort into it. You didn't have to go out of your way. It just happened. And I think there's some beauty in that.
Cool. So you are doing a huge job, a huge work. So how many staff do you have?
Of our consistent staff team, we have myself plus 12. And I utilize them in all the organizations I run, so there's some overlap. But with regards to volunteers, we have over 100 volunteers. And some of them are consistent, where we've gotten to know them and we share our experiences with them and the ups and downs of their lives. And some of them come once or twice. And we also accept students who are looking to get credits for their time that they contribute. And we also take practicum students as well. So people that are, attempting to get various degrees and they need that community engagement as part of their requirements are able to join us as well and fulfill their practicum hours.
What is the biggest advantage of being a volunteer for you?
The biggest advantage is the fact that my intentions are clear. Like, I'm not doing anything for money, because there is none. I'm there because my heart's in it, and I've been able to meet some of the most wonderful people, both on my volunteer side, but also as on the side of those who receive the services, that I wouldn't have had opportunities to engage with otherwise. I wouldn't be able to hear the stories of these folks. I wouldn't be able to see the growth. I have a saying that, we all have good and bad days. And if we were all judged just on our bad days, our picture would look pretty bad. People would probably think pretty low of us, right? So it's important that we keep that that mindset and that unconditional support of the folks that are marginalized, because they're facing barriers we couldn't even fathom, right? And so that compassion is there, and yeah, when you see them on their good days, it's the best. It means the most, and that's why we do what we do, for those relationships, for that interaction, for that growth, and ultimately to better the city that's really struggling with crime and poverty right now. They really are struggling. So if we can be that grassroots organization that's right there on the front lines, alleviating even a small fraction of what's going on, then it's an absolute blessing to do so.
How has your life changed since you became a volunteer?
Oh, tremendously. I am so much more humble. Like, you know, humility is something that really comes with that dynamic, but I also understand the importance of love, like, and just having love for one another and kindness for one another. And I'm also able to understand how easy it is to judge a book by its cover, and how important it is to give people an opportunity to show you who they are. I think a lot of the folks that we work with, we all see them, but do we really see them? Do we really see what they have to offer? Do we see the potential? Do we understand their story? Do we know that, you know, life's hit them harder than us? And so volunteering has given me that foot in the door into their world. And it's been an absolute honor.
Cool. You always mention only positive aspects of volunteer, but have you ever faced with negativity? Yeah,
the no pay. Because if I could volunteer more, I would, but obviously I have to have employment in order to survive myself. But one of the toughest things with volunteerism is not having accessibility to resources. I would love to have some sort of funding, to have a volunteer coordinator so that we could do more. You know, I've been grateful that I've been able to utilize platforms like GoFundMe to raise the funds for equipment and stuff, but it would be awesome if, you know, at a political level, the grassroots organizations were supported, because then you're not facing barriers to help do the right thing. You know, like, and we're not asking for an abundance, you know, but just any type of little support would help with volunteerism. And there is really no downside to it. I guess sometimes, you know, every single Sunday when I do my soup event, Soup for the Souls, I have anxiety about, like, no one showing up. I don't know why. It's never happened, but I always have this underlying fear. I'm like, oh man, like, what if today no one comes? Like, what if no volunteers show up and it's just me? Or what if no people come and we have all this food and clothes and it goes to waste? Like, so I think about stuff like that. But, you know, again, back to that organic piece, like, it's all happening the way that it's meant to. And I put a lot of faith and trust into that. And it's led me to a good place after 2 years. And I'm so grateful for this, and I'm very excited to see how far we can take it. My mind never stops. I'm always thinking about the next thing, the next way to help, the next program, the next project, who I can include, how I can tailor things specifically to meet the needs of the folks. Like, my mind never stops. I'm very excited for, you know, year 3, 4, 5, 10, 20.
So where do you see your organization in 5 years?
I would love to have, like, if I could acquire a space, like, I love my downtown space, don't get me wrong, but if I could acquire a space that has the same opportunities and structures and equipment that something like a church has, you know, where we have sound equipment and a stage and we have green space, like, we could utilize a field, we can have a garden, we can grow traditional medicines, you know, we could have a basketball court on the inside, something that, you know, where we could serve a bigger dynamic year-round, where if there was an emergency, we could open up our doors and it could be a temporary drop-in center, you know, things like that. We're pretty limited with what we have right now, so I'm always thinking about that. But down the road, I would love to have either my own community center or my, you know, renovated church or some kind of, you know what I mean, some kind of space that would fulfill those needs in a good way.
So what support or help do you need from Winnipeg community to do this? Yeah,
so far the community of Winnipeg and the people of Winnipeg have been tremendous. If I make a social media call out for winter gear, or for, you know, we did a Kicks for Kids drive last year, where we just collected brand new shoes, name brand, brand new, and the community ended up coming forward and giving us enough pairs to cover almost 150 kids. Right, so the community response has always been huge. So all that I ask is that they continue to be exactly who they've always been, willing and wanting to help. wanting to engage and appreciative of those opportunities and going above and beyond. Our city is really, really wonderful for that stuff. So I couldn't ask for more from them. I think as far as our group goes, one thing I would like to do is for us to acquire, charitable status, learning how to navigate that administrative side of things, because we're all very much frontline people. We want to be feet to the ground, hands to the people, engaging right there. But when it comes to that background typing, administrative stuff, we lack there. So we're trying to bring some balance.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who want to help, who want to do the great things. So I also noted that your organization has volunteers of different ages. So if it's not a secret, what was the youngest volunteer?
My son is, I think he volunteered at 10 months. and that didn't look like any strenuous work. He was simply like, he would take like a sock and hand it to somebody, a pair of socks and stuff like that. But realistically, what I like to say is that if you have a heartbeat and you're able to walk and talk, then you can come. We'll find something for you to engage with and to help with. And, in my experiences out there, I know there's a lot of misconceptions and stigmas about the marginalized folks, but there's never been one single dangerous occurrence. There's never been one fight. There's never been any violence. There's never been any red flags or danger. It's when people know what your intentions are, they're very welcome in responding to that. And so, consistently, I think the youngest ones we usually have out there are like 4 and up. And they just love to be there. And sometimes that looks like just making sandwiches. Like, and they're in the kitchen doing their own thing, helping. And it's absolutely amazing. And no one's ever obligated to help, but it's always warm and welcoming when they do.
How do you think, what motivates and pushes children at such an early age to start volunteering?
I think that kids are becoming more and more aware of life in general with social media and with technology and stuff like that. I have another son that's 10 years old, and he's been helping since he's been about 4 or 5. And he understands how lucky he is that he gets to eat every day. Yeah. Like, he understands that he's lucky that he has a pillow and a blanket and a warm bed every night. He understands that he's lucky to get a new jacket every year that he grows. And so he's developed a compassionate heart to understand that life would be hard without those things. And so there's an awareness to that. And then also, like, the kids get the most love. When they're out there, they get the smiles, they get the, oh, you're so cute. See, like, wow, look at you, you're a great helper. They get the compliments, and they really respond well to that positive recognition. And then that fulfillment, it doesn't matter how old you are, you get fulfillment from helping others. It's just the way it is. Yeah.
Thank you. And CommUNITY204 continue to grow, support and embrace Winnipeg community. So what are the main values of your organization?
So I mentioned them before. So the main values are lateral love, lateral unity, lateral empathy, but also to not think that circumstances beyond your outcome, circumstances that are beyond your outcome, beyond your control, they don't actually dictate your outcome. Like, so you can come from nothing and still be something. You can still, like, it doesn't matter where you come from, what walk of life you come from, what barriers you faced, what trials and tribulations, like, it's never too late to turn it around. Like, you can help, you can do meaning, you have purpose, you have meaning in your existence. And so whether that's volunteering or just being a good person or being kind or engaging, there's always the opportunity for that. So I think that's something that correlates strongly with us. Yeah.
Thank you. I see you are very committed to your job, to your work. You try to help as many people as possible. So what do you like the most about what you are doing, and what motivates you to keep doing?
So I just like the response that you get from the folks. I like seeing that, I like sharing the stories with the folks. I like when they come back 10 or 15 times and I've watched their progress and they just needed that little bit of help. I like hearing the stories. They have a lot of knowledge. The people on the streets there, the unsheltered, have an abundance of knowledge that, most people wouldn't take seriously, but they are some of the most intellectual folks out there. I love the response that I get from a family that's overcoming, circumstances beyond their control, whether it's fire evacuation or leaving a domestic relationship, and they're just starting from scratch, and I've just provided them with something that lifts weight off their shoulders. I didn't have a bed tonight. Well, here's 3 beds. Oh my God, like, I'm so grateful. Yeah. My children, we couldn't, and it took nothing. It took nothing from me. It didn't cost me anything. I helped them because I should. I had the ability to do something nice, and so I did it. And then they responded well. And so that type of stuff means a lot to me. And just seeing other people's perspectives change, I really love that. When new volunteers come and they think they've seen it all, or they know it all, or they think that it's going to be boring or a drag, and then by the end of it, they're like, wow, that 3 hours flew by. Like, I had so much fun. Can I come back? I love that response, because the door is always open for that. And it shows me that I've inspired something in them. And so what that looks like is paying it forward. We've started a ripple effect, and now a positive cycle is going to develop from that. Because, you know, an example is I had this one teen who's too cool. I'm too cool, man. I can't be there. I don't want to. I'm going to play my video games. I'm like, no, trust me, you're going to like it. And so he came, and then afterwards he was done. He, you know, wow, can I come back? Like, can I get one of the Community 204 shirts so I match you guys? And he came back. He's been there every single Sunday for this whole year. And not only that, but he brings his peers from school. So rather than gathering with his friends and, you know, abusing substances or getting into mischief or just wasting your time playing video games all day, he brings his classmates from school for fun to volunteer for fun. And they love it, and they're reliable. And so we've kind of created that, we've planted that seed in his head and changed his spirit and stuff. So like, I love to see that. And if I would have had that kind of encouragement when I was his age, I could have really used that, you know? And so we're starting something beautiful right there.
I think you are a great example for youth.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's impossible to help everyone because there are so many people in need. Have you ever denied people because of lack of resource or food?
Yeah, I try not to flat out say no. I mean, unless their requests are unreasonable. If someone says, "Can you give me a house?" No, I can't. But what I try to do is to utilize resources that I have in order to help alleviate something. So I'm very transparent. It's important that I don't, like, these folks have experienced enough disappointment as it is. So it's important to be very transparent. So if there's something that's beyond my means or beyond my reach, I let them know. But if I can help you in this way, here we go, you know, or if you need this, you know, so I always try to provide an alternative. That way they're not feeling completely left without anything. And so I think that's a really important way of just, you know, avoiding the all-out no, slamming a door in their face. A lot of these folks get the door shut in their face with everything. So if I can open up a different door, come this way, we'll figure it out, then I'll try. I'll always try. Yeah. And I think that's one of the flaws with the volunteering that you mentioned, I should have mentioned earlier, is that I can't help everyone. Like the amount of people that need help is beyond me, but I can make a dent in it. So if I can do that, then that means a lot.
So what do you think, what steps should we take to prevent like homelessness and what should we do? So
I don't think that the regular community can prevent homelessness in itself, because that's something that would have to be done at the government level with regards to providing space. Everything starts in housing first. You can't get a job if you don't have a house, because you don't have a mailing address. If you don't have a phone or access to a computer, how are you going to get a call back? You know, even systems navigation, whether you're trying to navigate various supports like EIA, the barriers are just so high, and there's so many, and people need help with navigating those systems. So it all starts with housing first, but I do think that the people of Winnipeg can assist with the minor wounds on the way. So, you know, winter, the city can help, people of Winnipeg can help provide winter jackets, scarves, gloves, toques. It should hurt our hearts to see folks sleeping in bus shacks. Like, it should hurt us to see, I seen the other day couches set up in a bus shack. Like, they were able to get couches, but they don't have a home to put them in. That's a problem. And so we have to find a way to get housing first. A tree cannot grow if its roots are not rooted in its home, right? The ground. And so the same thing goes for people. They can't begin their journey to success and to progress and to an overall positive well-being without a home. They have no roots, they have no structure, there's no foundation to help sustain them. That's the number one thing. But people can always help with the little stuff, clothing, basic needs, clothing, food, hygiene, conversation, interaction. I know even with like panhandlers, a lot of folks just are skeptical in giving them cash because they think it's going to go to bad things. Give them a sandwich. Give them a drink. Give them Tim Hortons. You know what I mean? They're not going to say no. You still helped, right? So there's always an alternate avenue for providing something good.
I noticed that you took part in a Unity walk in the summer, but winter is coming. So do you have any alternatives for this season?
Yeah, so every time winter comes, we have to start preparing in advance. And what that looks like is I start creating those calls for winter jackets and for boots, for the extremities. People don't understand how important proper foot care is out there because, you know, just having a clean change of socks, long johns, waterproof boots if you're going to be living out in the streets. But we've actually collaborated with a new group that I formed called the Sabe Peace Walkers, the private sector, AMC, and Homelessness Winnipeg, and we actually opened up a shelter at 190 Disraeli called the Dinawaymak. And so that's something that's helped alleviate a lot of the concerns for winter. And I know that the pandemic, the restrictions with that have kind of eased off, so we're hoping that other resources are going to begin opening their doors and adjusting their capacity levels, but we'll still be out there patrolling with the jackets. We'll still be out there with the hot coffees. We'll still be out there with, you know, transportation and emergency response will be there as well. So we're hoping that all these things combined in hopes of more opportunities for housing to open up will be enough to mitigate the deaths and to mitigate the severe injury and sickness and stuff like that. So.
How people can contact you if they need help through social media or through email? Yeah.
Yes. So our social media handle on Instagram is CommUNITY204. Our website just launched last week, so it's up and running now. So our website is www.CommUNITY204.ca. And they have a contact us section in there, and we're pretty good at getting back to people quickly and stuff like that. Or just talk to me in person. Like you'll see me out there. I'm out there all the time. So just don't be afraid to approach me or anyone wearing the Community 204 gear. They'll all point you in the right direction. So, yeah.
And how volunteer can contact you and what help they can?
Yeah, the same thing. So the website or you know, if they follow us on Instagram, they'll see our stories. We'll make postings with regards to the things that are going on. You know, they can inbox us and volunteers. All you need to do is show up. If you want to contribute, you're more than welcome. If you have leftover socks, that matching pair of socks, we want dignified stuff. So it's something. If you're going to donate something, make sure it's something you would use. You know, these people have dignity, and we want to maintain that. But they can contribute jackets and socks and toques, clothing, and for soups for the soul on Sunday. You can bring food. You can bring granola bars. You can bring you know, non-perishable stuff so they can store it for later. You know, carry it on them and stuff like that. So, and you get to just come interact. That's the most powerful thing, is that interaction. So.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
So with that, we are going to conclude today's discussion. Thank you, Daniel. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, our audience, for joining us today. We hope you enjoy it. If you like the episode, please like, share, and subscribe to see our upcoming episodes.